The question has been posed as to the history. How did my band, Greg Koch and the Tone Controls, come into being, and the story of that band, and so on and so forth? What is the story? But the longest iteration of my many different ensembles. This began in 1990-ish. What is interesting is that I always wanted to have my own band. I never really wanted to be a side guy per se. And I got done with college and University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Was living in Milwaukee. For a time I played with a gal named Susan Julian. She had come off the road. She was the keyboard player in the Bodines. They had just come off touring with U2, and she had management that was sympathetic to her cause. She's a great singer and keyboard player. And I played in her band for about a year, and I was very interested in writing songs and being part of something to go further on down the road. And it became clear that was not going to be a situation that was going to do what I thought it was going to do in terms of me being involved as a writer and doing the thing and so on and so forth. So I left that band, and I decided I was going to move up to Minneapolis. That's where my then girlfriend, now wife, lived. So I lived up there, and I stayed up there for a few months. I knew some people up there in various different bands. I didn't end up getting anything going up there per se, and a friend of mine called me named Ron Garrett, who was originally from Texas, Ron. And Ron could sing and play bass like a demon. Got a great bluesy voice, could really belt it out. Good blues bass player, but also had that kind of country sensibility as well. Very good songwriter. And he called me up. He ended up in Milwaukee because his wife was from Milwaukee originally, and she actually went to high school with my sisters. It was weird, and it was a weird series of symbiosis. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, he called me up and said, "Hey, Greg," that's my interpretation of his accent. He said, "Why don't you come back down to Milwaukee? We'll start this band. We'll do a trio." And so I wasn't doing much in Minneapolis other than working a straight job and going to jams and stuff. So I was like, well, that sounds excellent. So I came back. We ended up booking festivals. And we hit the ground running pretty quick. I had a little bit of a reputation in town anyways from playing in this other band, and got some press, and Ron was kind of well known. So all booking agents and stuff just started putting us in festivals, opening spots, and it started to take off pretty quick. So I moved back down to Milwaukee, and this Ron Garrett character, he had gone down to Nashville after this band started taking off a little bit, and brought some of his demos of some of his songs around. And they said, "Oh my gosh, these songs are fantastic." Some of you met a couple of big name songwriters down there. "Why don't you move down to Nashville and try to break in as a songwriter? We'll hook you up with this, that, the next thing." You know, the story we've all heard so many times before. So Ron decides to bolt on the band and move down to Nashville to become songwriter extraordinaire. And so he kind of left all these dates already booked with this band. It was a band called Drive South, named after the John Hyatt song, I might add. And it was myself and a guy named Scotty Thayer on drums, and Ron Garrett on bass. Right around this same time, I'd been doing some jamming with this bass player friend of mine named Kevin Muschel. Kevin I had known for years, and I always wanted to be in a band with Kevin because Kevin, you know, my music has always been this kind of amalgam of blues with a little bit, you know, there's some jazz sensibility in there, but there's the rock thing. You got to kind of know how to wear several different hats, but yet do something unique with it. And Kevin understood the language of which I wished to speak. But he was always involved with other bands. He had this band called Milkshake, and they were down in Chicago living in squalor, trying to break into whatever. And he kind of had it with that and moved back to Wisconsin. And he was in a position kind of in between stuff. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, you and I should get together with this drummer I know. He's a great singer named Gary Kaler." I'm like, okay, but I was all hot on this new band, Drive South, at the time. But I thought, I'll get together and jam with these guys. So we get together. There was this old shopping center in Milwaukee called Capitol Court. And somehow Gary had was able to get a rehearsal space in the basement of this shopping mall, which was weird, but it was this cool lair. So we go down there and we jam, and I was like, man, this is a totally cool unit. Gary's a great drummer. Kevin's a great bass player. Gary could sing like a bird. So after we ran through, we kind of just recorded our little jam session. I was like, man, this is a good unit. Maybe I'll do something with this band at some point in time. But again, I was all hot up on this other band, this Drive South band. So Ron Garrett decides to bolt on us, leaves the Drive South band high and dry with all these gigs booked, but with no vehicle to, you know, and he leaves to go to Nashville, and we had to cancel all the gigs or put something else in these slots. And because I already had kind of this ready-made unit ready to go, I talked to the drummer in Drive South. I was like, look, this other drummer I know can sing. I really didn't sing all that much at the time. I said, I kind of got to go with this other unit. I hope you don't mind. Do you mind if we just take these gigs? And he had no problem with it because he certainly didn't have anything ready to go to take these dates. So we plugged this new trio into the dates that were already booked under the guise of this Drive South. So we needed a name for the band. And so at first we were just going to be, I think one of the first names was the Tritones. And that got summarily thumbs down. And then we thought the Tone Controls was a good name, but because I had kind of a name in town from playing with Susan's band and getting, you know, some write-ups and this, that, and the next thing, we thought we would use my name in the front of the band because so people would know what we were. And so we hit the ground running. That would have been the summer or the fall of 1990, I believe. That is correct. And the very next year, 1991, we came up with our first tape that we had at the time. And from coming out with this tape, all the guys from Fender, a guy named Jack Schwartz, got a hold of our tape and started spreading it around, got it to Bruce Boland down in Nashville. Next thing you know, I started doing some stuff for Fender. Our first CD came out in 93. In 94, a record called Strat's Got Your Tongue came out, which was more of an instrumental thing. And we were just playing all around in the area at that time. We did a few festivals here, there, in the next place, but Fender had us come down to play at an event in Nashville for the Nashville NAMM show. We played at the Wild Horse Saloon, and we did that twice, and that really kind of had us more well-known on a national basis. We ended up doing this Thoroughbred Guitar Festival thing down in Florida right after that. Albert Lee sat in with us. It was glorious. And it just kind of took off from there. And that band would go through different iterations over the years. The original lineup of Kevin and Gary got together and did some stuff a couple years ago. We put out this Vivid Gristle DVD and CD, and I still tour with Gary on drums and Kevin when he can make it, but Kevin's got all kinds of different stuff that he does that it's hard for him to break away. But yeah, the idea of the band was, and it was always kind of an interesting thing because the funniest thing about the Tone Controls band is that it was, the age-old problem was, it was multifaceted in the styles. I mean, it was certainly blues-oriented. There was blues things about it, but there was this country element and there was this funk and this jazz element. It was kind of all mixed together. It was kind of a, you know, not dissimilar from a Little Feat thing, but it was more jammy. You know, it was more of a jam-oriented thing, but, you know, there were definitely tunes and harmony vocals and so on and so forth. But, you know, blues guys were like, well, that's not a blues band, but yet we'd win blues awards in the Wisconsin Area Music Awards, and that would piss people out. Well, they're not a blues band. And then by the same token, we played a rock place, and like, they're too much of a blues band. So it was one of these things where you couldn't easily be categorized, which I thought was cool. I thought I was doing my job. Fellas, I thought I was doing my job. Come up with something different. And that's the reason why we never were really able to get a foothold as a touring band in the States. And in Europe, it's worked better. We can go over there a couple times a year and tour, and it's been good. But that's kind of the story of the Tone Controls, going back to 1990, and still appearing in various different iterations over the years. So there you have it. I thought that was a good story. Hey, that's a good story.